Hi, everybody. I'm Michael Anderson. I'm a family therapist and coach. And today on the Online Prosperity Show, we're going to be talking about the importance of doing the inner work as a parent to heal so that you can show up better for your partner, for your children, and for yourself.
Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show. I'm your host, Prosper Taruvinga, and today we have a guest who's not only a therapist and coach, but also claims to be a Gryffindor, according to Portable. Did I get this right now, Michael?
We've got so much to talk about with that, but sure, we'll go with that. I'm actually a proud Hufflepuff for anyone who cares. I'm a proud Hufflepuff.
Absolutely. I wanted to do that again, because you told me off earlier on and you're like, do not ruin this for me. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm only just trying to survive, bro. So
I'm starting this off with just me so mad at you now. That's great. What a great way to start.
well, I do apologize. But I know you came packing hit, and you definitely are one of those people that I've been following for a while, and I've seen your work. So I'm happy that we are having this call today because the things that you tackle and the people that you help, it's something that a lot of people need to hear about. So I'm hoping my guests are also going to welcome you, with both arms, knowing that you are now going to be helping them be, do, and have happier existence. Now, I did mince my words about you being Gryffindor and everything else that comes along with Harry Potter and the Lord of the Rings. But for those that are watching right now, yes, you heard it right. He is actually a wizard in the world of therapy. Now, Michael Anderson is also a dedicated family man and an expert in helping parents enhance their relationships with their kids. Now, Michael, it's great to have you here. Let's just dive into the magical journey of your professional life. Tell us exactly what it is that you do in the realm of therapy and coaching.
Yeah. First off, so awesome to be on. Thanks, Prosper. This is so fun. Um, I'm trained as a marriage and family therapist. So did a lot of couples therapy early on, and then I got trained in trauma healing. And I started working in my therapy practice. Parents would come in and talk to me about the issues they were having connecting with their children, um, just knowing how to handle the parent-child relationship. And more, I started realizing that as parents did their own inner work and like healed their own trauma, learned how to emotionally regulate, kind of went inside, they just naturally started to enhance the parent-child relationship. And so I wanted to extend that reach and be able to impact more parents. I mean, there's tons of skills out there for parents. There's tons of books, tons of really good resources of just how to handle certain situations as a parent, but not a lot of people talking about how, the majority of parenting is learning how to do your own healing. And so, as a side, my wife and I co-founded the Empowered Families. That's the name of our company. And we wanted to create a focus on helping parents do their own inner work, become more connected with themselves, with their kids, with each other. And so now I live in both worlds. I do some therapy, but then I also do coaching as well, and it's been such a blast.
Fantastic. So, literally, what you do is the same job as an air hostess. Because have you ever been in a flight and the air hostess is saying, put your mask on first before you
Yep.
can help little Sally and little Toby work through? So, are you just a glorified air hostess then?
The I would say air hostess are better because they give free snacks. We have yet to incorporate free snacks in our coaching program, but you've given me a great idea, and I will take that to my wife, and we will put that on the drawing board, and we'll consider free snacks.
I wouldn't go as far as that. Have you seen the little bags in the airplanes that they have for peanuts? So it's
Yeah.
just I think I think you're doing all right. So just coming back to the whole putting your mask on first. So what you I'm hearing here is you encourage parents to look after themselves first before they can actually go on and be able to impart that love, caring, or empathy to their kids because you can't give off what you don't have, right?
Yeah, yeah. In so just kind of two thoughts to build off of what you just said. First off, absolutely. Like, and the more parents do their own healing, then the easier and more natural connecting with their kid becomes. Because then all of a sudden now all the issues that used to bring up their own stuff, right? I talk with parents, they'll say, when my kid talks back to me, like I just get all these emotions coming up, or when my kid, spills, or my kid throws a tantrum, I get disconnected from them and I get upset and angry. When we do that inner work to heal those parts of us that are getting activated in those moments, it becomes so much more natural to connect. And second piece of that, and this is a hard mindset, I think, for parents to really grasp, is adopting a mindset of your relationship with your partner. If you have a partner in the home raising kids with you, that comes first. The more you nourish that relationship, the better parents you become naturally. So absolutely, you've got to put your own mask on first, and it completely changes the way you show up for your kids.
That's beautiful because I've got a 9 year old and a 4 year old.
Oh, wonderful.
And obviously, in that space, the 9 year old has been growing 9 years. And apparently, they say every 7 years, our bodies, our cells and everything else changes. And that has also been happening to my wife. In that 9 years, she has also been growing. So had we only just been focusing on the kids, that means we are neglecting 9 years of nurturing that parent relationship, which a lot of people don't quite have. Is this what I'm understanding from what you're fixing?
Oh, totally. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, you changed. That's 9 years where you could either grow. So I heard it said once and I love it. You can either grow together, or you can grow apart. Either way you're growing. And when you decide to grow together with your partner, with your spouse, then it absolutely affects the way you then show up for your kids.
Anderson, we should have R-rated this show because the kids that are listening to this will hate both of us because now they don't know how to play the parents against each other. Because if the parents are now a unit, the kids won't be able to say, Dad said yes, I could have some chocolate.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. We should probably put like a little tag on this like adult supervision required or something for this episode.
All parents only.
Yes, for parents only. Yes, exactly.
Right. Cool. And thank you so much for that. Now, you said you and your wife co-founded this business. How did you venture into coaching parents, and what sort of drove your passion to enhancing, family relationships?
Yeah. So probably the start of this was actually with the birth of our second child. We've got three kids. We have a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 9-month-old. With when we were when my wife was pregnant with our second, she got really into this idea of natural birth. She really wanted to do natural birthing, unmedicated, and so she started learning, took a class, all this stuff. Um, and we were going to go give birth at a hospital with a midwife. And the morning of about 3 a.m., the morning of the birth, she wakes me up and says, Michael, like, I think this is it. This is real. So we're like, I'm like trying to get ready. We call her mom to come over and everything, right? And about 20 minutes before we're about ready to hop into no, sorry, like 5 minutes before we're about ready to hop into the car, my wife says, she comes out of the bathroom, looks at me and her mom and says, dead serious. She said, we're not making it to the hospital. This baby's coming right now. And it was actually one of the most incredible experiences of our life. I was terrified, but it was like one of those things where I could either panic or not panic. Either way, this baby's coming. So she gave natural birth to our second child in our home. And about a couple days later, so she looked at me, she goes, I could help women do this. Like this was one of the most beautiful experiences of my life. I could help women do this. And she got her degree in family studies. And so she wanted to start her own birthing coaching business. And around the same time, I was getting my therapy degree and I was doing couples therapy. And we just kind of looked at each other and we're like, why don't we just start something together? And so that was kind of the genesis of Empowered Families, this idea of we could combine our experience, our training, and um, help create beautiful moments of connection for couples.
Fantastic, and congratulations, man. I wouldn't even known, um, you know, who would have been able to hold my beer in the process when that was happening. You know what I mean? I wouldn't know where to
Yeah,
place it. So
yeah, yeah. This is so funny.
that must have been an experience that maybe actually brought the both of you together, because some experiences like that, whether beautiful or eventful, are usually what bring people together. Have you ever seen in the movies, when the hero then goes in and rescues the girl, and then when at the end of the credits, then they kiss because that event sort of brought them together? Would you say
Right.
that is what happened to you and Miss Anderson?
Yeah, I think it was a turning point in our life. Absolutely. In our relationship, in our life, a moment of clarity, right? And one that look back on with a lot of gratitude, a lot of fondness for that experience.
Absolutely. Now, what happens to those parents that don't have, life defining moments like that in their relationship? How do you address, their connection, and what sort of advice do you give to people for them to move together as a unit?
Yeah, it's a really good question. The thoughts that come to mind are, my wife and I, we had that experience happen to us, and it was a transformative experience for us. But it's not, those types of things aren't required to create a loving, safe, emotionally connected bond with your partner. The key is intentionality. If you have a relationship where you're working on intentionally creating your own experiences. I mean, we were fortunate that we had this experience just kind of drop on us, right? And at the same time, if we did nothing else to nourish our relationship, then what would that experience even mean, right? That experience can't save us, right? Intentionally trying to create moments of connection. That's what creates a secure relationship. And so you don't need an earth-shattering, this mind-blowing, I should say, experience if you and your partner are both committed to intentionally creating moments of connection with each other, which is hard to do in this busy life. I think that's society's so busy, and it's really challenging to do it.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to go back a little bit to the um what parents go through, and especially these days with all these expectations of either society, social media, and now the influence of TikTok and things of that nature. I don't think parents actually know how to parent, and a lot is being brought up just by watching these 5 second sort of clips. How has maybe social media really, really made it difficult and actually disconnected parents from their kids?
I think in a number of ways. One, I think parents get well. Let me start first with the one of the biggest ways is parents and children. Social media becomes such a power struggle between parents and children. So parents want, if you tell their kids, they try and limit social media. They try and tell them you're gonna rot your brains by being on social media all the time. Why can't you be more present, right? Be connected with the family, and all the child hears is my parents just think there's something wrong with me, right? They're just trying to manage behavior. And so, one, I think, so in one aspect, I think social media drives a wedge between the relationship of the parent and the child. Um, Second, I think parents also when parents disconnect from reality, right? When they escape into social media, then they miss the opportunity to be present with their most important relationships. I think one of the greatest challenges parents have in today's world is developing the ability to be present. And I myself included, I've had plenty of experiences where I'm on LinkedIn. So I'm most active on LinkedIn. That's where I create most of my content, like you said. And I've had multiple experiences where I am creating a post about connecting with your children. And in the background, I hear, Dad, 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 Dad. And I'm like, yeah, yep. I'm like on my phone, twiddling my thumbs, like, yeah, give me a moment, you know. And then I look at my post, I'm like, I'm literally talking about connecting with my children. What am I doing, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's so easy for social media and how fast information moves on our phone. It's so hard for parents to be present, and I think that's one of the biggest challenges that parents have in today's society.
But if we look at the baby boomers, that happens to be our parents. I don't know, maybe I'm aging myself here a little bit, but if we look at the generations prior, they didn't have that many distractions. Yet some parents were never there. And I've come across a statement that says children are only meant to be seen and not heard. That is something that was happening already in
Yeah.
that time, so not necessarily social media. People were just maybe really focused on a newspaper, and they wanted to read it cover to cover, and you know what I mean, things like that. So is something that is inherent to human nature that generations just find it difficult to connect with each other.
Um, Again, I think it's an awesome question. My knee-jerk reaction is I believe so, and I believe it's just for different reasons. I think there's um going off your question, you said it, and what maybe have you restate your question. Just were you saying, are there just different, no matter what the generation is, are there just obstacles to connecting in the parent-child relationship? Is that what you're
Yeah,
asking?
yeah.
Yeah. I think so. And because I believe that um, when parents don't have the resources to work on their own stuff, whether it's stress, trauma, unfulfillment in life, dissatisfaction, whatever it is, it's human nature to get into self-protective mode, self-protection, right? Shutting down difficult emotions, numbing out, secluding. That's just human nature. And so, of course, no matter what generation you are exploring, the people that are probably going to experience the biggest fallout because of that are children, right? Who don't understand why their parent maybe isn't emotionally available to them, right? And so, hopefully that makes sense. What I'm saying there.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, your services, what you're working on right now, you're actually focusing on helping people do the inner work. All right. So, just if you could say that a little bit louder for those at the back of the room, some people might not even understand what that entails or what that looks like. Is it just a self monthly cleans? Is it a detox where you're on a juice fast? Or things like that, just to make sure that the guts are doing great. What is the sort of inner work that you're talking about, and how do you address this?
Well, you give me another idea. Maybe with every client, I should send packets of wheatgrass monthly. That's a great.
Do the thing.
Yeah. No, so this has been a very productive call for me. So thank you with these ideas. Um, so yeah, great question. So I'm about to use a word that I think is very loaded in society, and that word is trauma. Um, and the reason why I think it's loaded is, right, we usually think of trauma as really big stuff, right? I went to war, right? I was attacked or something, right? Something
Yes,
really over.
post traumatic disorder,
Yeah,
somebody
exactly.
who's, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
not to lessen their experience, but it's what people have become accustomed to associating trauma with. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And thank you for saying that, right? Yes, not to lessen that experience at all. That's how people, a lot of people associate, right? And what research is finding more and more is yes, that's trauma, but also trauma can manifest in much more subtle and complex ways as well, right? And really, when we're talking about trauma, we're talking about unprocessed experiences, emotions, memories that are still stuck in our brain that we just haven't worked through, we haven't processed. I mean, these can be anything from, having your own troubling childhood growing up, right? To also having really hard, terrible work experiences, right? People experience trauma from being laid off, right? Um, um, really hard relationships, right? Betrayal, whatever it is, these trauma, we all walk around with unprocessed experiences that affect the way we show up to today. Maybe just to give a kind of a concrete example of what I'm talking about, applying it to parenthood, right? Is I work with a client who um, grew up always kind of being told that having her own opinion was bad, right? You're kind of needy, you're kind of a burden if you have your own desires and opinions. You just got to kind of be. She had to manage the emotions of everyone in her family, and she realized that now as an adult, she has a really hard time being okay with assertiveness, right? Seeing assertiveness in other people, being assertive with herself, and um and feeling like having a hard time with boundary setting, right? And advocating for herself. And it's that type of inner work. It's getting really curious with what has happened maybe in my life that's affecting me. I'm showing up right now, presently, and healing that. And I mean, we could have our own episode about different examples of that. Um, but that's a lot of the inner work that we're talking about, and all learning how to emotionally regulate and be okay with uncomfortable emotions, and being okay with having a human being that you're raising with their own sense of free will and their own desires, their own opinions, and being okay with all the uncomfortable emotions that come with that as well.
Absolutely. I think it takes a redemptive amount of restraint to not just splatter these kids onto a wall somewhere and then just turn yourself into the cops. Um,
Right, right, right. Yeah, absolutely right. Nothing activates all of our insecurities and frustrations quite like parenthood.
yes, my favorite is when kids are in the shops and the mom is trying to discipline them,
Yeah,
and try
yeah,
and think
yeah.
the kid is gonna understand, and the kid is sitting on there. What, mom? What are you saying? Now that already aggravates the person. So obviously, if you've got underlying issues and if you've got all of that stuff that needs to be visited, it will take a while. Now I understand exactly what it is that you mean. That there's a lot of triggers that come through, and our kids, usually the closest people that can understand, how to actually pull those strings. Now, from what you're talking about, you've got the obviously the educational route of you being a therapist, and also you being a coach, and you've now got this lived experience with your second kid being born, in there. You now have this unique position to actually speak, to say, hey, I think I can tell you a thing or two about seeing or what it is that you can do with kids. What is it then that you reckon distinguishes your approach in coaching, especially young parents, to heal and reconnect both as a therapist and as their coach?
Yeah, yeah. Well, for one, the biggest is I really try and make it clear this idea of the more you go inside, the more natural connecting with your children's going to be, right? The more you go inside and heal what's happening in you, the more connected you're going to be. On top of that, too, um, learning how to, you one thing I kind of say a lot, that we talk about a lot in like coaching program is this idea of connection over correction. We there, like I said, there are tons of great resources out there of like how to handle um potty training, how to handle picky eating, right? How to handle curfew, like how to handle all these different things. There's tons of great resources out there. However, I think though that if we get so caught up in learning new skills, like, okay, this is how I handle this, this is how I handle, this is how I handle that, we miss out on the fact that at the end of the day, you have such a beautiful gift in your home. And that beautiful gift is this other human who relies on you, who needs you, who has hopes and dreams and desires, has a whole future ahead of you, ahead of them. And you have an opportunity to just love and be present with all of that, all their imperfections, all of their potential, and helping clients in any situation, especially situations that usually activate and trigger big emotions in them, how to focus on, well, how do I just connect with this with my child rather than try and sift through my mental utility belt of like, okay, what skills do I need to put here? How do I handle this situation? And so I try and take like let's just simplify this a little bit and focus on connection over anything else.
I quite like that. So when a parent knocks up on your door right now, what sort of offerings do you have either for individuals or for couples or parents? And how are you sort of assisting them, to navigate all of this? Because this is all obviously something that a lot of people are dealing with. As long as they've got kids, there's bound to be these issues coming up as well. And with the anxiety and depression, that is just, second nature to a lot of people. There needs to be a lot of rewiring of their minds that needs to happen. Can you just maybe walk us through what it is that you do and what sort of offers that you present to solve these problems?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we offer just a newsletter that's free that you can subscribe to and just get weekly insights on how to enhance your relationship and do mental health tips, things like that. The next step above that is we offer a group coaching program for parents, um, and that's a 7 week cohort, and they go through it together, and it's been really fun to get that started, and been really fun, and that's focused a lot on introducing these ideas to parents. Obviously, in a group setting, we don't have the time to like to do their to do like deep individual work, but yet they still get an opportunity to rub shoulders with other parents, celebrate wins and victories. We offer training to them. We give them assignments to do in between weeks, right? And so they get to have a group experience where they just get to feel like there's a community where they can feel supported, heard, seen, and like I said, rub shoulders with other parents. And then just the step above that is we offer one-on-one. It's either one-on-one or one-on-two, depending how many parents want to come in and be a part of that. And that we tailor, and that's a private coaching experience, and that we tailor to to whatever their needs are. If they're wanting to just do individual work and do some trauma healing and learn emotional regulation skills, things like that, amazing. Or if they want some couples work, right? Like how do we enhance our relationship? Like I said, I'm a couples therapist by training, so I just apply that to the coaching setting. Um, and so we tailor the private coaching to whatever their immediate needs are at the time.
So from what I'm hearing, it takes a village to actually raise these kids.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, and that's just the parenting side. And then my wife also has her birth coaching um, program as well, where she walks people through birth education and things like that.
Indulge me if you can here, Michael, from what I'm understanding, in the way that you're explaining what it is that you do. Having been brought up in Africa, you see, when boys or girls get to a ripe age of 13, between 13 and 16, they're sort of called in to like the village um, circle where the leaders sort of proverbially give them a tap on the shoulder to tell them, hey, you're an adult now. It's your turn to go lead your family, go lead your work, go lead whatever it is that you're going to be doing in life. You're not a kid anymore. Whereas if I come here to the first world, and I'm gonna say this with utmost love and respect, we just have fully grown babies that are having babies themselves. And nobody has broken the pattern to separate them to say, now you're an adult. You can now go on and have kids. If it's kids having kids, don't you think that's maybe the reason why these issues are happening? And second of all, when you take them into these community workshops and groups and things of that nature, you're sort of giving them and offering them a pattern break for them to actually start realizing and taking ownership and owning whatever it is that has been happening to them or for them, in order for them to then go on and actually start enjoying these relationships with the greatest gifts that are known to mankind.
That is such an interesting perspective, Prosper. And honestly, this conversation, this idea could be its own episode too, just like all the nuances of what you're saying. A couple of thoughts for you is um, I love what you said there at the end where you're like, this is that opportunity for them to finally own, right? What's been happening to them, what's been happening for them. I, because I think we mistakenly sometimes, and by we I'm just talking generally, like this some
You speak for
people,
yourself.
yeah, yeah, it's true. They, I hear people say things like, I don't want to just boil everything down to trauma or what happened to me because it doesn't feel, I don't want to feel like I'm just blaming circumstances, right? Um, and I think that's an inaccurate approach to take when you're doing your inner work. I don't think that's what we're saying. I think what we're saying, but by acknowledging the fact that there is trauma, it's not saying, oh, I get to shove off responsibility to like everyone else, right? Because they traumatize me, right? I think what we're saying is there's a powerful opportunity to finally better understand what's happened. And the more you understand what's happened, the more you understand how you can own it and create your own story now. And now you don't need to pass that on to the next person. You can see it, you can look at it, you can own it, you can craft a new story around it that's empowering, and then it gets to stop with you. It doesn't have to patch now transfer onto the next generation. And I think that's a really important part of trauma healing.
The buck stops with you.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm, quite like that. So, for those that are uninitiated, what would be the best way to get a hold of you? And hopefully, they're going to do it mindfully, because you have already told us that you being on your phone takes you away from your kids.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So please, no one contact me while you're playing with kids. Do it after the kids are in bed and you have a free moment. That's the disclaimer here. I am most active, like I said, on LinkedIn. Um, I don't know if you can post my profile, link the profile in the show notes or something that people can click on. Please DM me, message me. Love to talk and chat and offer any support I can. There's also a link on there to subscribe to the newsletter. There's a link to schedule a free consult with me. That's kind of the probably the best place. If you just were like, okay, I just want to get to know Michael a little more, kind of what him and his wife are doing. That's probably the best way to do it.
Absolutely. I will definitely put a link to your landing pages and also a link to your LinkedIn so that people can continue the conversation with you because all we just wanted was to whet their appetite to know that there is help out there because as you would understand, a lot of fish do not notice the water that they swim in unless
Right.
something has been put in there or people don't see the air that they breathe. All right. So some people might just be thinking, oh, my kid is not listening to me, or my kid is not, you know, is not disciplined enough, or things of that nature. But it starts with us. If we look within, and then we'll be able to be doing have happier relationships out there with those that matter the most to us. We don't need tragic events in order for us to be put together. But unless it's COVID, then we can't help the situation. You
Yeah, yeah.
stuck for 2 years and you have to literally start learning your kids' names or your wife's, his name out there. Now, we've been talking about kids and everything else. Moving forward, you can answer this question if you may. What was childhood like for you?
Childhood for me was, if I'm being serious, if I'm being honest, it was pretty blessed. I did have a good child. I think I had parents who definitely were not perfect. But they definitely tried their best. Um, and I look back on it with a lot of gratitude. Um, and I think in a way it makes me want to. I think that's one big reason why I want to help parents more is because now I talk to parents who didn't weren't dealt the same deck of cards that I was.
Mm.
And I just want every parent to know that they're not defined by their deck of cards. Healing can happen. Healing can start. And the deck of cards that you've been dealt once you've healed can actually become a really powerful part of your story. Right? I see parents all the time who start to do their own healing and we just have this conversation of, can you just imagine the gift that you're giving your kids right now? The fact that you're healing. And I don't know. I think it's a really beautiful and honestly, I'm a spiritual person. I have a faith in God, and I believe it's a sacred experience.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you're showing up in the best version of yourself and you're becoming who you want to be, not only are you helping the relationships around you, but you're giving them a point of reference because monkey see, monkey do. You know what I mean? They're emulating and seeing what it is that you're doing. And like you said, you have an opportunity to be the person that actually stops the trend. If trauma or anxiety or depression has been in your family, it doesn't have to continue to the next generation simply because you haven't done your part to defend the others past there. And if I'm hearing you correctly, this is exactly what it is that you're working with people to just really get them out of that humdrum roller coaster that is seemingly leading them nowhere and actually setting them apart with their kids. And I think what you guys are doing is tremendous work. I just wish you have a bigger platform in order to help all the parents out there because each kid that then comes out of these cohorts or communities that you guys are creating is going to go off and create a better world out there. And you're just doing a little bit in your own little space to make the world a better place.
Well, thanks a lot, Prosper. Honestly, that means a ton, and yeah, I appreciate that, and it's been such a fulfilling ride to start this business and to start doing this work. So I appreciate you giving me a platform to be able to share that a little bit today.
Fantastic. Well, I can't thank you enough for the time that we spent on the call today. Even though we had laughs or whatever it is, this is a serious matter. And I didn't want the gravity of it to dampen the mood of what we wanted to bring out. So if you notice, because kids are our future, and if they're not looked after, it's just a ripple effect that just keeps going. And that's how, generation after generation, it's either poverty, the mentality, even if you've got money and everything else is right, but if you've got a poor personality, that's just poverty in and of itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not just monetarily, it's values, it's everything else that comes along with it. So if there's anything else that I could possibly do to make sure that all the other kids out there are also being looked after, then yeah, by all means. But I really appreciate your time today. And for those that are watching, that wraps up yet another incredible episode of the Online Prosperity Show. And a really big thank you to Michael, the wizard of parenting, right there. There are so many other facets to his life, but I think the parenting thing really struck a chord, me being a dad and hoping that I'm doing my part raising, great humans, and hoping that I'm not passing on whatever trauma that I would have brought in with me from Africa. It's a good thing. I only came here with a backpack full of hopes and dreams, so they're not being loaded with everything else that could have come with that. But Michael, I really appreciate you sharing your insights on enhancing family relationships, and your own fascinating journey to transformation. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Prosper. Means a lot.
Absolutely. And for those that are watching right now, remember, if you're ready to do your own inner work, like we have figured it's not green tea and green grass that Michael wanted to prescribe earlier on, you literally need his empowered healing method that actually does the trick. It might just be the key that you've been looking for. If you find yourself not connecting with your kids or with your spouse, or with any other relationships in your life, I think just reach out to Michael. I will put all the links to connect with him in the show notes below. Now, this has been Prosper. We are signing off to go look after our kids. I don't know. That's what we're doing, right, Mike?
Right now, well, it's 11:30 where I'm at, so my kids are asleep. So I think you're going to have to look after your kids, probably.
Fantastic. And we're just reminding you that you can't be a public success and be a private failure. And by that, I mean you can be seen everywhere else on social media, on LinkedIn, as if you're doing well in your job, in your business, when you don't actually have a relationship with your kids. So you need to be prospering in all aspects of your life. And I'm hoping this video does that for you. Until next time, take care of your own families and conduct your business. Bye for now.